So in your work as a journalist, then, obviously you focus on the politics of Wales. How do you see that politics is framed outside of Wales? How does that affect like the broader public understanding of politics in and outside of Wales? That framing.
I think, in terms of UK-wide coverage of Wales, every single thing will be reported through the view of an English lens or a UK lens. Like if I'm a journalist based in London and I'm writing for a England-specific audience, that's what I should be writing for. From my perspective as a journalist there, in an ideal world, there'd be loads more Welsh language. There'd be loads more Welsh media. I mean, I'm saying this as someone who's essentially pays his mortgage off the back of providing Welsh-specific news. So obviously, I think there is a gap in the market for it. But the commercial media will go where there's eyeballs and there's money. So my model is I do really in-depth journalism specifically on Wales, and I ask people to pay for it. So if you want this, you pay for it. And ultimately, I live and die by the fact that my journalism is interesting enough that people want to give me money. If you are a Wales Online, like Reach model, which, I mean, people slag off Wales Online, but they're the only website which isn't receiving lots and lots of public money, which provides Welsh-specific news. Ultimately, you need to, it is that, as I said, it's going back to that chicken and egg. How do you create a media ecosystem whereby people want to read it and there's a market for that kind of journalism? One example I'll give is Drakeford. So we used to, before the pandemic, when I was at Wales Online, we would never put Mark Drakeford's name in a headline because it would kill the story. If you put Mark Drakeford said X, Y, or Z before a pandemic, no one's clicking on that. No one's going to look at it. After the pandemic or during the pandemic, Mark Drakeford, you put Mark Drakeford in any headline, it's amazing. Like 200,000 people view it. You know, you look at 10% of Wales, just bang, because you use the name Mark Drakeford. And that's because people respond to people. And there is such a lack of recognition among for a lot of Welsh politicians. Vaughan Gethin used to get quite a lot, but also he was very prominent during the pandemic. Leonard Morgan, to a lesser extent, gets some, but beyond that, people aren't really that engaged in the names. And but if you had people who are aware of politicians down the bay, they feel like they know them, they might like or dislike them, but they know who they are and they know why what they're saying matters. That's how you drive a kind of commercial demand for that kind of stuff. So and that is kind of why we've kind of done the podcast. Like the podcast for the first 3 or 4 months didn't really make any money because, you know, people didn't listen. Well, people did listen, but they didn't listen in massive numbers. Whereas now the numbers are growing and people are engaged with it. And actually that kind of eventually becomes self-fulfilling because you're talking about something, once you've got people interested, they keep coming back because they're interested. But it takes a long time to do it, and it takes kind of a concerted effort, and it takes time to like kind of swallow the bits that aren't that profitable, and that is a hard thing to ask media organizations to do in the current landscape. The book I'm currently writing kind of concludes we have a collective responsibility, if you feel Welsh or you're in Wales or you identify as Welsh, to make Wales better. And actually I think that kind of comes from all of us. We have a collective responsibility in Wales to make Wales better, and that doesn't just have to be, oh, this is on the government. I think if we want this thing called Wales to work, it's kind of on all of us. And I think that goes back to that problem of apathy. Like, we need to kind of roll up our sleeves and do it ourselves, because Westminster isn't going to do it. Cardiff Bay has exhibited itself fairly ill-equipped to do it. So ultimately, it's on us. I genuinely think that a change in the Barnett formula and how Wales is funded to be based on need rather than population is so desperately needed, and would at least put Wales in a better position to be able to fix its own problems. So if I had to pick something, I'd say need to sort the Barnett formula out. Ultimately, when I wrote the book on independence, I said I'm not persuaded by independence, but I totally could be. I just want whatever is going to work best for Wales. I'm not convinced by independence at this point, because I don't think a lot of the questions I'd want answered are answered. But I think what would be amazing is to have Wales in a position where Wales is doing so well, but actually independence, getting Wales to a point where it's ready to be independent should be the aim of everyone in Wales, because the best argument for an independent Wales is a functioning Wales. Now, obviously, many people will say, well, Wales can't achieve that potential until it's independent. But I don't really accept that you can't make things better until you're independent. I think there's a lot of low-hanging fruit that you can still cultivate. So, long-winded answer to your question, I would like people to be much more engaged with this thing called Wales and be pulling in a direction to make it better, however that looks.
If you enjoyed this episode, be sure to subscribe and stay tuned for more conversations with people who want to build the future of Wales. And do go and find, like and enjoy new.wales across all your favourite social media channels.